Welcome to Solve This Murder. I'm your detective, Bill.
And I'm your crime scene criminal and witnesses, Dani. We're on part 2 of The Murder on the Links.
In part 1, we discovered the murder of Mr. P.T. Renault, stabbed in the back and thrown into an open grave.
Mr. Renault sent us a letter before we embarked, indicating that he might have some shady dealings in Santiago come back to haunt him.
We also found out he's had ongoing interactions with a Madame Dubreuil, but was also visited last night by a young mystery woman. Okay, so, as I said a week ago, I have 2 things I want to do. Check out a body and find out about who this mystery woman is. And I suppose at any point the wife may wake up from her slumber and I'll talk to her as well. But for now, I gotta follow my nose wherever it goes, and it smells corpses.
All right, great. You go up to Police Inspector Bex and ask if he can show you the way, because he has the key to the shed out in the back where the body is being stored.
Wait, I thought I was going to travel to a morgue. They've just put it in a shed?
Yeah, I don't know how good this shed is. I didn't really get a good answer to this. I'm guessing that they just held off on calling the ambulances until they were done doing their own checks. Again, you did arrive on the scene pretty early into this investigation.
That is true. Well, I arrived, they found the body an hour before I got there, pretty much?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Even so.
Even so.
You go up to Bex and you ask, hey, did you get anything out of those servants?
Actually, I did. I don't know how much I can use the police in this investigation, but I wonder if you could follow up on something.
Please, we'll do a little bit.
I'm looking for a woman. English, I would say. I know that's not that uncommon in this area. Young, dark hair. I think she wasn't blonde, was she?
No.
Yeah, dark hair, who may have visited the manor last night. I've decided to call it a manor. I should probably call it a villa, but I've stuck on manor out of a sense of British pride, for I am Hastings.
Mr. Bex lights up a little bit and says, you know what? This makes perfect sense.
She's a mafia hitman.
We found something in his coat when we did a cursory examination. It's still in there. When I take it to you, I'll show you that right now.
It will still be there. Okay, I was going to say, don't you steal evidence from me.
No, yeah, all good. Incidentally, he starts to lead you through and he goes, oh, actually, you know what? Just because we might not get another good chance, you can also look at Mr. Renault's study where he was last night.
Yeah, I didn't think about going to the study or going to the bedroom. No, I probably should have. You know, there's probably physical evidence at these scenes. You think I should do this before I head to the body?
It's on the way.
Oh, okay.
It's right next to the front door.
You know where you can see that front door?
Everything's in eyesight of that front door.
Okay, I'd like to check the study then.
So very quickly, you just do a quick look at the study. It's already been dusted this morning because Francoise was very good at her job. At least mostly good at her job. You know, still, you know what? You don't notice. Poirot notices. The rug is a little bit crooked. But that's all right. So Bex is looking through the drawers and things, and where do you decide to look?
Under the rug?
You look under the rug, and there is a small scrap of paper under there, just a tiny corner.
Early Agatha Christie's love to drop you little physical clues.
And Poirot just tuts and goes, even in France, the housekeepers are lazy enough to not actually clean under the rugs.
That's because they're rugs, Poirot. You don't need to clean under them, because they're there, keeping that space underneath themselves. What does the piece of paper say?
You can tell it is a small ripped portion of a check. And it's you can only see one word. It's in Mr. Renault's handwriting, and it says Duveen. Duveen.
That's nothing. Duveen.
Indeed, probably a name.
No, it's not a name. It's nothing. It's gibberish.
Well, while you're agreeing that it's gibberish, Bex has pulled open a drawer and he goes, hoo, jackpot.
What have you found, Bex?
I found a will.
A will?
A will.
A
so
will?
good at this. But you know what? You're our guests here. Why don't you look at it?
Can I have a look at the will? What does the will
Good
say?
Good thing that you know you're fluent French. So you open it up, you take a look. Okay, it's got pounds. He does do a lot of his money in English, apparently. Yep. So, okay, he's left £1,000 to his secretary in England, Mr. Stoner, and everything else to his wife.
I'm assuming everything else is a lot more than £1,000. You never know in 1920.
Yeah.
Okay, so his wife has inherited everything.
Yep.
God,
That's
if you were going to
normal,
murder
right?
someone, you could okay, let's just, I'm not saying this to the police officer, don't let him judge me. If you were going to murder someone for the money, the capacity to be like, come to the garden, dear, stab him in the back, because he trusts you, you're his wife, knock him into the hole, run upstairs, put on a ball gag, throw the room into disarray, and then when people ungag you, just be like, 2 masked men who you'll never find did this to me. She's top of my suspect list right away because that is such an easy mechanism, such an obvious motive of the money going to the wife and the possible affair. If I think about this not expecting a twist, which I'm sure I am expecting a twist, maybe his secret was just that he was having an affair and he knew his wife would murder him. But I've solved it already, so this is part 2 of 2, but let's move on.
You also notice, hey, there's something else, perhaps a little interesting about this will. Like, nothing that you've said so far has been strange.
No,
Leaving
no.
it all to the
Everything's
wife
been
and
very
the
reasonable.
stipend to the secretary.
I don't
That's
know who
very
the
normal.
secretary is, but but he's probably over in Canada or something.
Yeah, we've already managed to get in contact with him. In fact, he's on his way over now that he's heard. He was quite distressed to hear it. But he largely works in England. He only comes here like 1 weekend a month to do work.
Oh, so he's on his way from England?
Yes.
Not from, like, the town centre where he was like, let me just dispose of this knife. I mean...
No, not so much. He is typically based in England and
Sure.
in charge of the English work.
All right.
But yeah, do you notice the one odd thing about this will?
It's in pounds?
No.
He doesn't specify the name of his wife. Oh, he's a bigamist.
No.
He just says my wife.
No.
And he's got 8 wives.
I didn't word anything to you.
No, what's odd about this will?
Notice the date on that thing?
Well, no, you never told me the date.
I
so
was
didn't
hoping
notice.
that you might inquire.
What was the date?
2 weeks ago.
Ooh, do we have any old copies of his will?
You look around a little further, don't find anything.
Oh, that could be
But
interesting.
presumably there would have been one.
Yeah, maybe the secretary will know. He just changed his will. Maybe he took his son out of the will. Because you'd probably have a son in a will. Maybe he took his son out and sent him away. Has he been gone for like 2 weeks? Jack's been away for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In my notes, the blind old deaf lady Francoise said Jack was away for 2 weeks. This will is 2 weeks old. Maybe Jack did something terrible. I got to find out more about what's going on with Jack. There's a connection there. The timeline. Okay.
And that's all you find in here. Continue on to the shed.
I've got a piece of paper that just says the word motives on it, and I'll just tuck that away. It's called the will. I keep it.
It says Devine.
Oh, sorry. It says Devine on it. Yeah, that looks like Devine was the addressee of the check.
You couldn't
Or I
quite
can't really tell.
Based on the fact that it's in Mr. Renault's handwriting, you assume that's the case.
Okay, well, with that out of the way, to the body.
You head out to the shed. Bex takes a big old key out of his pocket, opens it up for you. Says, just ask anytime if you need to see it again for some reason.
Nah, I'm going to get 100%.
I'll be here.
Don't worry about it. I'm going to find every clue.
The body is lying on the metal table that's at the center of this shed. Pretty much what you'd sort of expect. He's a man, about 50 years old, dark hair with a lot of grey in it, medium height, kind of lithe, very tanned because he's got a bit of a history of living in warm tropical areas.
Big knife wound in his back?
You flip him over to his back, and yeah, so through his coat, he's wearing a nice fancy fawn-coloured coat, and you can already see the blood stain around it. Pretty substantial. They have taken the knife out at this stage, but over to the side, they have a little separate table, and they've put it in a glass box. They say,
Ooh.
here it is.
What is this knife like? Is it what? I gotta know. I gotta know what type of a knife. You can always tell a murderer by the type of knife they use.
It's a peculiar thing. It is not made like a normal knife. If anything, you would probably say it's more like a paper knife. It's very long, like 10 inches long, very sharp. And yeah, it's made out of some unusual material that a knife wouldn't typically be made of. But, oh boy, pointy. And Beck says, obviously, no fingerprints.
Now, when you say a paper knife, do you mean like a letter opener?
I believe that's what they mean. They kept calling it a paper knife, but I can only assume. They also said, oh yeah, it was only 10 inches long, but very sharp. 10 inches sounds huge to me.
I'm just trying to get my hands to about 10 inches. That's
It's like 25 centimeters.
with a handle.
Oh, okay, with a handle.
Yeah, I think that's still a fairly hefty knife.
Yeah, that's a knife. And it does have some blood around the tip. Decent amount of blood.
And so what I know about this from the knife, what I know about the knife from looking at it is it's long, it's sharp, it's possibly a letter opener or a paper knife. And it's an odd material.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, it's not not a steel knife. Is it a metal knife?
This is
you may not know.
Yeah, this is a point where I know, based on later chapters, what this knife is made of. I am having a great deal of trouble visualizing what this is.
Okay. Would Hastings know by looking at it, or is it like a later discovery?
It's definitely a thing that gets told to them later.
Okay, so let's assume I can't identify it.
Yeah.
It's something weird.
It's definitely a little weird.
It's a bit odd, but I don't know exactly how. Oh, man, how funny. I'll have to find a knife expert. Now, they said there was something in his coat.
Oh, yes, of course.
Can I look in his pockets?
You go back over, you do some unbuttoning. Oh, that's okay. Little weird. Okay, a couple of things that you notice are a little weird. One, his coat is a little long. Just being right down to the ankles like that, it's not quite the fashion right now. You'd expect it to be a little closer to the knee than that. It's just what's in France right now. You spent a lot of time in France recently. You know these things.
Oh, yeah, Hastings. Fashionable man.
But the weirder part still is the next big fashion faux pas that he has made. Underneath this coat, he's just wearing his underwear.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Little odd.
Now, I'm assuming it's 1920 that underwear consists of a full body suit.
They were unclear on that
He's
point.
wearing his sleeping suit.
But finally, you find the correct pocket. And you find, indeed, something inside.
Now, before you tell me what this is, I'd like to say to the audience at home, if you see a man, it's the middle of the night, he goes outside, he's wearing nothing but the coat and his underpants. To me, that is an indication that it was like a rushed, sudden thing. Like it was wakes up in the middle of the night, goes, what the hell is happening out there, runs downstairs, he gets to the top of the stairs, he can see the front door. He gets down there, puts his coat on, like from the coat rack, and goes out into the cold. He's not getting, he was not out and got murdered while he was out. Something happened and he rushed out of the house to deal with it, only throwing a coat on so he wasn't naked. That's the impression I get from the current situation, and we should all bank that in our collective heads. And when you're writing a little thing from home, trying to put in your query and your theory, you should remember this. He seems like he rushed outside. Okay, what do I find in his coat pocket? You look like you're handing me something.
You find a note.
I love
Worn,
notes.
crumpled, and a bit of a rushed handwriting.
I should add some notes to the mystery I'm writing for you. They're fun. It's fun to read a note. Ooh, this is a note. My dearest one, why have you not written for so long? You do love me still, don't you? Your letters lately have been so different, cold and strange, and now this long silence. It makes me afraid. If you were to stop loving me, but that's impossible. What a silly kid I am, always imagining things. But if you did stop loving me, I don't know what I should do. Kill myself, perhaps. I couldn't live without you. Sometimes I fancy another woman is coming between us. Let her look out, that's all. And you too. I'd as soon kill you as let her have you. I mean it! But here, I'm writing high-flown nonsense. You love me, and I love, yes, love you. Love you. Love you. Your own adoring Bella. What a creep. What a creep Bella is. What a freak. Okay. Hold on. So this is why Bex was like, oh, you mentioned a young woman. That makes sense because that may have been Bella. The creepy freak. She's a creepy freak. I've just got to say. Note. Okay, I'm going to make a note of my note.
You're just going to write the words creepy freak, and then we're going to take a break. You're going to come back and have no idea what was going on.
I love you.
Oh, no. I love you, creepy freak.
I'll kill you.
This is a weird song.
Love Bella. All right, I think I've got the gist of that one.
Stan, part 2.
Dear Mr. P.T. Renault, this will be the last letter I ever send, yo. Doesn't work. There's a reason he chose the name Slim Shady. That's not even when he says that. Okay. So he got a creepy note. Is there anything else I noticed while I'm looking at this body? Are his shoes full of gold? Does he have a tattoo of an earwig on his left pectoral muscle? Is his beard only half grown and half shaved? What's going on? Any other noticeable clues from this body?
I believe we have covered everything of interest on the body.
A watch that's broken at a specific time?
We'll get to that.
Oh, what? Are you kidding me? Okay.
In fact,
Let's get to it.
we can get to that right now if you like.
He has a watch that's broken at a
Someone
specific
knocks
time?
on the shed door.
A knockety-knockety-knock.
It's Leonie. Why is it Leonie? I don't remember what her voice sounds like already.
Just be dramatic.
Excuse me, detectives.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Detectives, Madame Renault has woken up. She's
woken
ready
up.
to give testimony.
The wife is ready. The wife is ready. I got to go talk to the wife.
Yep. And then
I rush into the house. I knock her down to the ground. Knock Leonie down to the ground and Bex as I leave, knife in hand. No. Let's get out of here. Let's head to the house.
Bex says, he puts a hand on your shoulder and says,
Bex?
okay, look.
Stop obstructing justice.
And then just so you know, this might be a little delicate, but you have a delicate hand with the ladies, I hear, Hastings.
Yeah, that's what the people who've listened to this show before, you know I have a delicate hand with the ladies. Even Hastings introduced himself in this mystery by telling a young girl she wears too much makeup and swears too often.
Look, we've been trying to find the son, Jack, so that he could do the officials of IDing the body and signing off on that because we wanted to spare Madame Renault that.
Sure.
We're having trouble. The officials are going to be coming to take the body away soon. We're going to need her to do the job, I think. It's going to be really unpleasant. Can you try to, get, I don't know, work her up to that?
Yeah, that's fine. You have to tell me one thing, though.
Please.
At this point in time, at this moment, does she have any idea her husband is dead?
Yes.
She's been told.
Yes.
She knows. Okay, I don't have to break that news.
That's fine.
All right. In that case, sure. I'll get it.
Oh, God.
I'll get it. ID the body. Don't worry about it.
Okay. You head back to the house?
No.
Oh, sorry.
I pick up the body.
Oh,
and
God.
I head back into the house. No, I'm not a freak. Let's head back to the house.
Okay, you head back to the house.
Let's head back to the
Through
house.
the front door, which you left open.
Well, I couldn't see it. I wasn't on the stairs.
You see the stairs. You walk up
From
the
the front
stairs.
door?
Oh, boy, they creak worse than my chair.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
No wonder Francoise said that she could definitely hear Mr. Renault coming to bed.
So they're just it's like Nightingale floor kind of situation.
Exactly. It's absurd.
For people who don't understand the reference to a Nightingale floor,
That's a book.
you
can read it if you want, I
It's
guess.
ostensibly a thing. It doesn't feel like it's actually a real thing. It feels a bit made up. But if you go to Himeji Castle in Japan, it's got a Nightingale floor, and it's just the idea
it's
of
a book. It's a lot of books.
It's a thing where it's like the floor's made intentionally creaky so that if the person's coming to assassinate you, instead of hearing, you hear creak 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 wah, 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 wah. I'm gonna kill you now. And you don't like that. You don't want to hear that.
Yeah,
So that's kind of what's going
some
on here.
definite inspiration going on for that in this
But
fella.
that's possibly not a real thing. It may have just been that the floor was creaky and they invented a story to fit the creaky floor.
Cool. You enter the bedroom. It is still kind of a mess.
Sure,
But-
fair enough.
Madame Renault is lying on the bed. She looks kind of pale. She definitely looks like she's just woken up. But she has a regality about her.
Sure.
She looks kind of like a cool little lady. Not even that old, really. Hello, sirs. I understand that you need me to help you.
Yes, Madame Renault, first of all, my dearest sympathies. It must be terrible to have woken to all the news and to have been attacked in the
Yes.
night.
Mm.
It seems to be the least of your problems now. it's if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a little bit more about what happened while it's still fresh in your brain.
Absolutely. No, yeah, I can do that.
Can you describe to me what happened to you last night? You were awoken by masked men?
Yes, so I went to bed at about 9:30. My husband, around an hour later, I suppose.
That fits with my previous testimonies, I've gathered.
And I was woken by a hand being put over my mouth. I woke up, I tried to scream, obviously. I couldn't. I saw there were two masked men in the room. They both had hats covering up their faces, but they did have beards. One of them a big dark beard, the other a similarly large reddish beard. But yes, all wearing black. Very furtive. They bound me, they forced a gag into my mouth, and then they dragged my husband off to the, what do you call it, the clothes walk-in wardrobe, fancy word for that. And they were, it sounded like they were interrogating him. I didn't catch too many words. They were speaking Spanish, but not Spain Spanish.
Ah, from the New World.
Exactly. What I did hear was that they said, "Where is it? Show us where it is. The secret."
The secret?
My husband was uncooperative, so that's when they ransacked the room. They looked at things. They grabbed my knife off the bench.
Your knife?
My letter knife.
Your paper knife?
And they held it up to him and demanded that he go with them. He told me to not worry and that he'd be back by morning, but I could see he was afraid. And so they left, and they went out, and then I guess I fainted. I don't remember what happens after that. That wouldn't surprise me. I do faint under stressful situations sometimes.
Well, you're a woman in a
Exactly.
story from the early 20th century.
I don't know the half of it in this one. I heard the clock out in the hallway or wherever it is. It struck 2 a.m.
Ah,
So it's
this is what
definitely
we were
run out.
talking about earlier with her testimony fitting the time of death.
I think that's all I remember.
Interesting. Now, Dani, remove your soul from the body of this person.
Okay.
Allow her corpse to fall upon
She
the
faints.
ground of this play.
She faints.
Wonderful. This is the most made-up story I've ever heard. Because here's the thing. These two masked men ran just like, big bushy beards of black and red. Like, that's you're just describing what masked men would look like, right? Just like, you're just giving me like a hint to follow that's nothing, right? Already a bit ridiculous. But then, two people have entered your home, bound you, gagged you. They brought a gag. They were prepared for this. This is not a spur of the moment thing. But then when they decided they needed to intimidate your husband, they just go, they just looked around and grabbed my knife and used it to, like, why wouldn't they bring their own knife? If you've come to a house to bind and gag someone's wife, grab them and interrogate the person until they give you their secrets, you don't bring a weapon? They have to it just happens that they grab a knife that you own that happened to kill your husband. This is the most bald-faced lie of a story I have ever heard. And if any of it is true, if a word of this is true, then I will make a specific apology episode at the end of this mystery for you all to listen to, in which I don't know, do something fun. You can vote. Everyone... If you're sending us an email after this episode, include what I should do as an apology episode if I am wrong, because this is nonsense. But I will do whatever you request in an apology episode within reason. But it doesn't matter what you request because I'm not going to be wrong. Okay, you can reanimate the corpse of this woman.
Lovely,
now.
lovely.
You can jump into her body and bring us back into the scene.
Okay.
Now, all of have you ever seen these men before? I don't say it like that.
I shouldn't think so.
And do you have any idea what the secret is that they were asking about? What your husband's secret could be?
Honestly, no. I have no idea what they were talking about. None whatsoever.
What is your knife made out of?
Oh, the knife?
Yeah. Ivory? Ivory knife? I just thought I may as well
No,
ask. I was concerned.
Oh, well, no, it's a bit unusual. It was a gift from my son. He was in the Air Force. It's made from the wire of old plane shrapnel.
What an oddly specific thing to be in this book.
Right?
Knife was gift from Air Force son made of plane wires? What's a plane wire?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why is this in this book, Agatha? Why have you
It
done
was a
this to
couple
us?
of years after the war. It would have been weird not to mention the war.
Okay. Now, when you say plane wire, do you mean the wire was unadorned? Or do you mean it came from a plane?
Don't ask me any more details. I don't know that much about knives.
You mentioned your son. This is your son, Jack?
Yes.
It's my understanding Jack hasn't been around for the last 2 weeks. Do you know why he's been absent? Any reason for his absence?
Well, of course. My husband sent him to work in Paris.
Oh, of course, of course. Do you know if there was any altercation between your husband and your son before he was sent away?
Oh, it's a father and son, probably. Look, I don't know. My mind's not really trying to...
No, keep going.
My mind's not really in a place to remember things 2 weeks ago.
Okay, fair. Wonderful.
But he's not still in Paris now.
Where is he now?
Well, my husband sent him off to South America very recently. He would have just yesterday gotten on the boat. He was going off to Buenos Aires and then on to Santiago, I believe.
And how do you spell Buenos Aires?
With a Y.
This is a fun thing if you
Yeah.
ever read this book. Buenos Aires is spelled
Ayres.
very odd.
Like
Fun
Ayers
little-
Rock.
And apparently I was Googling this because Dani just mentioned it offhand that it was spelt that way in the book. She didn't give me any other clues, don't worry. Apparently it's also spelt like that in a couple of Sherlock Holmes stories. And it's really just only in Britain from this time period that it's ever spelled that way. Or if you go back to like 1500s, original naming of the place, it's spelled that way.
So just yesterday, my husband telegrammed him and told him it was, from what I understand, urgent business and he had to go. So he's on his way to South America.
How strange. Your husband telegrammed him.
I have telegraphed.
In Paris to let him know to immediately leave.
Mm.
This was yesterday.
Yes.
Wild. I wonder what new stuff is going on. Sent his driver away. Sent his son to Buenos Aires. Spoke with a new lady.
Messaged you.
Messaged me. The letter that you think he sent that yesterday? Is that
Yes.
how fast the post is?
Apparently.
Really? Okay, that's new. I thought he must have sent us a letter weeks ago.
Oh, no. Apparently this is just crazy stuff.
So something happened. Do you know any reason why he would have sent this to your husband? Did anything happen? Did you receive any strange visitors or mail? Or did your husband seem perturbed, wandering around saying, "They've discovered it. My secret is out"?
She frowns. She goes, yes, you know what? Yes. It's subtle. I do think I noticed a change in my husband. Maybe 10 days ago. It could have been longer and I just took a while to notice, but
10 days ago?
yeah.
What happened 10 days ago?
I don't know.
But nothing is special yesterday?
No, not at all.
10 days ago. When you said the will was 2 weeks old, did you mean 2 working weeks old? With no weekends? So 10 days? Madame Renaud, your husband changed his will 2 weeks ago. Were you aware of this?
Not at all.
Do you have any idea where he may have kept his old will?
I assume that either his secretary would have kept it for records or it would have
That's
been
what I thought.
destroyed. Don't you destroy old records?
Yeah, but not if you want to leave cool clues for detectives to find.
Yes, I really don't know much about this business.
Fair.
I certainly haven't been thinking about the business side of my husband's death.
Oh, of course. I'm so sorry. I just thought maybe, helping us solve some of these small puzzles might get your mind off the...
Oh, yes, that's
The
going to
husband's
work,
death.
isn't it?
Mrs. Renaud. I'm jumping between Madame and Mrs.
Yeah.
Forgive me for my impertinence.
It's all right. I speak English and French. I'm good.
I don't know whether... Oh, okay, quickly just jump out of the corpse.
Yeah.
Let her fall to the ground.
Yeah.
Cut the puppet strings for a second.
Yeah, good.
I don't know whether to ask her about, like, whether she knows the guest from last night, whether, Madame Dubreuil, like, or whether that's going to be, like...
A little sensitive.
Right? Like, it's because, like, from a personal... Like, if she was a real human being, I would not want to do that to her, right? Bring up her husband's possible affairs right as he's dead. But I'm solving a mystery, and also she doesn't actually exist. She's a puppet. So, maybe I will... Maybe that's my next... Can you just... restring the marionette of her body and let's get back into the questioning.
Sure.
Now, Madame, I have a rather sensitive question for you, or perhaps it is not sensitive at all, and I'm reading it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anything about your husband's relationship with your neighbour, Madame Dubreuil?
Relationship.
Any
No.
dealings they've had before? Do you know anything about this?
I
Have they had? You know what? Have they had any dealings? I don't know if they have.
Not to my knowledge.
I'm just gathering information for people to question in the future and whether or not how connected they are. Do you know?
I understand.
Dubreuil?
She is our neighbour. That's
You
all
don't
I
really
have.
know one. And do you know are there any younger women, dark-haired, who may have been visiting the house?
We live on the French coast. There are plenty of young, dark-haired girls in the area.
Of course.
Do you have anyone?
Does the name Bella mean anything to you?
No.
Does the name Devine mean anything to you?
No.
Does the name Renaud mean anything to you?
She starts to look like she might be getting a little bit uncomfortable with this line of questioning.
Okay.
When she starts fidgeting a little bit. In fact, she starts like playing with her hands. As she does that, you see her wrists.
Bound up?
I mean, they're not bound up.
No, I know, but like the markings of having been bound?
Oh boy, something was bound on there tight. They look incredibly sore.
Can I find anywhere in the room those bindings? Have they been like cut off and removed? Like,
yes. Leonie cut them off earlier, and you can see the remains of them.
but there's nothing. It's just a rope.
Amongst the debris, yes.
Okay, interesting.
I don't know if they were rope. Whatever is good
It is
for
not
binding.
It is not interesting enough that it's in your notes. Pretty much is
No.
what I'm asking, I suppose. So she was bound quite tightly. It'd be hard to bind yourself that tightly.
Definitely.
That's an interesting point. Like, I couldn't bind my own wrists. So, I mean, maybe I could if I tried really hard. I don't know. But it'd be hard to get that kind of a real tight thing. You think if she was pretending to have been bound and gagged, she would put the binding on and it would be fairly loose so she could still like gag herself and all this other stuff. And it would be hard to get it that tight. So that adds some credence to this theory. I'm now worried about what I'm going to have to do in my apology episode. Can I leave her for a moment? I mean, just take a breath, relax for a moment.
Please.
And can I do a quick scan of the room?
Good idea.
I want to give a quick room scan.
You do
Are
so.
there beard fibers in the carpet?
You don't find too much of interest, despite everything being ransacked. There is a safe, and it looks like maybe, and she confirms, oh yes, it looks like a little bit of money might be gone from there, but that's all we kept in there, nothing fancy. You notice there is a watch on the floor with its face smashed.
Is this gonna make a liar out of De Broglie? Wait, not De Broglie. Renault.
You pick up the watch, and it says 7 o'clock, and you frown. And then you hear it faintly ticking. It's smashed, but it did not break.
Oh!
However, right now it is not 7 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock.
Now,
That's wild. I did not realize how many hours had apparently passed in this story so far.
yeah. Well, I
It
spent a
felt
long
like-
time talking.
As I reread it doing a timeline, I went, man, so much happens in one day. I did not realize that we were already in the evening.
Can I ask Poirot a question?
Yeah.
Poirot, you're a smarty pants.
Yes.
You've got all this information that you're gonna be like me.
Quite.
This says 7 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
It is currently 5 o'clock.
Indeed.
What is 2 hours? Now, this is my first question, but don't you worry. I have a second question, everybody. What is 2 hours ahead of Paris?
Oh, what places in the world?
Yeah, where are we at? Is that like Poland? And
I
that
would
sort of section of
assume
Europe?
probably
Or like in Eastern Europe?
Europe. Now, most of Western Europe, to my knowledge of the current time zones,
That's fine.
is all the same time zone. So you would have to go quite far east to get 2 hours ahead. But yeah, I would assume Eastern Europe somewhere.
Wonderful. Different question.
Mhm.
What is 22 hours behind the UK? Didn't someone move to Tasmania?
Quite frankly, 22 hours behind the UK would be probably like more UK almost. That would probably be like.
That's fair. Maybe there's nowhere that's 22 hours. Okay. Yeah, good point. They are
I will
mean time.
say-
They really only go up and down
What you
12
can do,
hours.
I mean, my immediate thought here was, why are you going? Why 22 hours and 2 hours?
Oh, sorry, not 22. Sorry. AM, PM. I want 10 hours behind.
So yeah, because there are all sorts of AM PMs. You can't tell from this watch what it's doing, so you do that. And great, now you've got a whole bunch of different time zones that could be involved in this.
10 hours behind? Is that the right time zone for like South America?
I didn't actually research to find out for sure, even though that was my immediate thought
don't
as I
think
read
it
the
is,
book.
because I think South America is like minus like
Quite
5
a
or 6
lot.
hours or something.
Oh, really?
Not minus 10 hours. I'm going to Google Chile time
Time
zone.
zone.
It is only -3?
Oh, wow. What? -3 what?
GMT -3.
What is wrong with Chile? That doesn't make sense. Does it? Where's Chile? What?
South America is kind of east of North America.
Sure, but that far east? No.
I'm going to go for a time zone
Maybe.
map.
No.
I'm going to find an image of a time zone map.
That's so much further than I thought.
Look how close it
Oh
is.
my god.
Look how close South America is on this time zone map when it loads. Look how far east it is.
Yeah, that's only a couple of time zones different.
So yeah, from England, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are 3 to 5 hours behind England in South America.
Wild.
The west coast of South America is in the same time zone as the east coast of the US. Isn't that fun?
Madness.
Florida is further west
I've
than
heard
all
fun
of Colombia.
facts like this.
All of Colombia is east of Florida. Sorry, everybody. I know you want to solve mysteries, but we're going to do the mystery of what the globe looks like. Do you know Peru is like directly south of Washington, D.C.? Do you know all of Central America is just, if you go south from any part of Central America, you just do not get
Land.
to South America, except for maybe Panama. We can go south to
I should hope Panama.
Ecuador. Man, that's wild. Okay, so it doesn't give me a really definite sort of thing. It's kind of a hard thing to place. So why is it 2 hours off? That's so strange. Unless, oh, wait, hold on. This is so strange. But I have one possible theory, which is that if she is in on it, if she is making this up, right? For some incredibly obscure reason, she's like, I'm going to murder him at midnight.
But
I want it to
be 2
seem
a.m.
like 2 a.m. So I'm going to set my clock 2 hours forward and then I'm going to break it so it stops ticking. So they'll be like, oh, look at that, it's 2 a.m. But she tried to break it because it is cracked, but it didn't
But
break.
she fainted in the process.
And so it's kept on ticking and it didn't, but maybe they wanted it to stop at an hour that was 2 hours ahead of what it was. This is such a stretch, but that's my only explanation for the 7 o'clock smashed but not broken watch. It was an attempt to put the time that something happened 2 hours ahead of when it did happen. So if I find out that someone who had access to this room has a very specific alibi for midnight, that's going to be big on my list of suspects. This is all I've got, but that would be so convoluted, but that's all I can think about. That's all I've got from this watch. Or they're from Poland. That's it. One of the two. Either a midnight alibi or a Pole. I'm looking for one or the other. I don't know if Poland's 2 hours ahead. It probably isn't.
Yeah, it's probably only one.
Probably only one. But with daylight savings time. Okay. Anything else of note in this room? I found the smashed watch. I found a safe.
You have found all worth noting.
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know what else to get from this right now other than to see if she can, maybe her husband's not dead. Let's go find out, maybe.
Oh, yes. All right. No, hold on. Give me a second. Okay, I think I can do this. I just have to go in and say, yes, that's him,
You just
right?
have to look, well.
Or no.
Or no, thank you. Don't just say yes, because
Okay.
if it's not him, you got to get real up into his face. Because it could be a person disguised to look like your
Oh
husband.
my God.
They do that sometimes. They kill random doppelgangers and they throw them into graves in people's houses.
Okay.
You've got to get real in there and make sure it's your husband.
I don't know if... Okay.
Did I say I was going to be sensitive before? No, she's a puppet. Don't worry. Let's go.
All right. You take her downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And Bex is in there waiting, so you don't even have to use the key because he's already waiting in there.
Sure.
Just, Madame. Oh, voila. And she walks in, takes another deep breath. She steels herself. She goes in. She looks at him. She goes, oh my God, it's Paul. Oh my God, it's Paul. Oh my God, yeah, that's him. And she faints.
We'll never know if that's her husband. Could just be a man named Paul. What does the P in P.T. Barnum stand for? Solve This Murder is created by Bill Sunderland and Dani Siller as part of the Consume This Media network. To find out more about all of our shows, you can head to consumethismedia.com. A special thank you to Jared, Devon and Whit from the podcast Advanced Sagebrush and Shootouts for creating our theme music. And thanks to all of you for listening.